Hey everyone, Spryzen here. Today's topic is very interesting to me, and all credit to Braxophone for giving me the idea to talk about this. So the other day, while watching Braxophone's livestream for ArknightsEndfield's version 1.5 update, an interesting topic came up while discussing things in the chat. That was the take that Contingency Contract is one of the best gacha endgames in any gacha game out right now, but it is not particularly difficult. You choose your own debuffs before entering, you choose the best possible team to negate those debuffs that you've chosen, then you dodge attacks and meet the DPS check and it's over. Obviously, the higher the risk difficulty, the more debuffs there are to deal with, but ultimately, the mechanics are self-imposed and able to be counteracted by proper team building and player skill. And I honestly agree with this 100%. A bit about me outside of ArknightsEndfield. Final Fantasy XIV is my main game, and has been for years. I don't really make content on it because I don't have a lot of interesting things to say about it that other people don't already do. But as you can see, I have well over 3,000 hours on this game. I've cleared through one of the game's ultimate raids, which is the highest difficulty endgame content available, and you can't be carried through it either, so you have to know what you're doing to clear it. Basically, I know a good bit about what I'm talking about here when it comes to Final Fantasy XIV. All 8 party members have to pull their own weight, execute boss mechanics from multiple different positions, and maintain proper rotations to meet the DPS check. So what does this have to do with Contingency Contract and ArknightsEndfield? And how are the types of combat between these two games even comparable? Well, ArknightsEndfield is in a unique position compared to other gacha games because of the fact that all 4 party members are on field at the same time, similar to parties in Final Fantasy XIV. This gives the developers a unique chance to design bosses and encounters with different types of mechanics that the player can engage with and master, instead of what ArknightsEndfield has currently in terms of mechanics, mainly dodging the red bad area and giving enemy stat increases. Let's look at a mechanic present in Final Fantasy XIV, Limit Cut. This mechanic places small dots above the player's heads, numbering between 1 and 8, one number per player in the party. The boss will then resolve these dots in order by attacking each marked player from 1 to 8. Sometimes, each hit applies a debuff to the character that will instantly kill them if they get hit by the boss a second time, meaning proper positioning is key to resolving this effectively. Something like this is very easy to implement into boss design in ArknightsEndfield. The boss could mark all 4 player party members in a similar manner, and attack them in order 1 through 4. Obviously, the player only controls one character on field at a time, so there could be a change in the mechanic to allow the player to negate damage to them or their teammates. You could have the player stack with that teammate to help tank the hit, or spread far away to avoid getting caught in the AoE of the attack, or utilize QuickTime events to stop the attack, something they've already experimented with in the fight with Electrios. I don't think it should be a direct copy of Final Fantasy XIV systems, but are you starting to see how the combat in ArknightsEndfield could be expanded far beyond the basic combat found in modern-day gacha endgames? The very fact that ArknightsEndfield has the whole team on field at once lines everything up perfectly for them to implement more engaging and interesting boss fights using those very teammates as part of the design. Let's look at what ArknightsEndfield does in its endgame now. Age of Axes is a boss fight with one big spongy chungus, who is easy to dodge, and all the difficulty in clearing with 3 stars comes from the bonus challenge of clearing the fight in 1 minute. It's simply a DPS check with no other real challenge that can't be overcome by just spending some sanity and powering up your characters. It's pretty clear they want all the content to be clearable by players of all skill levels, which is a good thing of course. But making endgame an actual difficult experience is important for giving players a rewarding way to actually use those built-up characters. These harder boss mechanics could even be for brutal difficulty only, similar to the normal savage difficulty split seen in Final Fantasy XIV. They could keep the reward structure the same, giving all the currency for clearing normal difficulty, making the harder bosses optional for players who actually want to engage with the content, while not gatekeeping more casual players from their free pulls. Maybe we could get achievements added for Brutal with special trimmed medals for players who manage to clear this harder content. It's just bragging rights really, so you aren't missing out on rewards by not clearing Brutal. If you decide you want to try to clear the harder boss, it would be all execution-based difficulty rather than HP inflation or shield buffs forcing a player to spend pulls to clear. Basically, they give you all the power to clear the content while not keeping you from precious ore barrels. Let's use Wuthering Waves as an example. The combat in Wuthering Waves is pretty in-depth for a modern gacha game. There's multiple different ways to interact with the bosses, like Toon Break, parrying, perfect dodges, etc., but you will be hard-pressed to actually clear the TOA without utilizing the shield buffs to your advantage. Obviously you can, but you know it's much harder for other characters to clear without the shield buff, and some older characters just can't clear at all anymore. Imagine if you could clear with any team you wanted to use, assuming they were built properly, but you actually had to master the game's combat mechanics to do so. Maybe a boss gains a damage debuff stack when perfect dodged, or a parry could build up stagger faster, making a boss more vulnerable than it normally is. Adding these types of generic floor buffs instead of shield buffs for the newest character could make the endgame more accessible to all players, while not requiring them to pull on the newest character banner to have a good time. If you like having a good time, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a comment to join the conversation with other like-minded individuals. Let's talk about Contingency Contract now that we have some more context on how difficulty can be changed in ArknightsEndfield. In CC, you could pick debuffs that make the game artificially difficult by lowering your own HP or heightening enemies' HP and damage output. These things are more punishing, but they are not inherently more difficult. To be fair to Contingency Contract though, there were some debuffs that did increase the difficulty. You have a debuff that would remove your ability to dodge, therefore making traversing boss attacks more of an issue than they were before. You now have a new skill to master, rather than a new DPS check to make. It's certainly more engaging than pumping DPS to clear 1 minute faster than the last run you did, and I bet a lot of players found the runs with the missing dodge more difficult. I'd like to see more mechanics like this one added to the endgame to make it actually harder. ArknightsEndfield is a game full of potential in multiple different ways. The game is still in its first year, and Hypergryph consistently shows effort in improving aspects of the game each patch. I personally would really like to see engaging combat added to the endgame in Contingency Contract. What kind of mechanics would you like to see implemented into ArknightsEndfield? Would you even want those changes to be added to the game? Let me know down below. I think that's all for this one. Bye bye.